What's going on, Dolphins? It is your boy Dillon, and I got some breaking news for you guys. It looks like the Dolphins are signing wide receiver DeVante Parker to a contract extension. As we know, this previous offseason, they had signed him to a 2-year deal. They could have easily cut bait after the first year of that deal. So going into the this offseason, they certainly could have gotten out of that deal if it didn't pan out. As you guys know, I actually at the time thought DeVante Parker should have been given a chance somewhere else. They should have just let him go or whatever, right? But that's also in the context of if things didn't get shook up in the ways that they did, I would have, for example, if Adam Gase didn't get, fired and we had the same team from last year, I would have, as much as I love DeVante Parker, as much as I wanted him to be our number one pick in that draft, the 2015 draft, I just felt like he needed a change of scenery. And because, he couldn't stay healthy and, he showed his flashes and stuff when he was on the field. He just couldn't stay healthy. So I thought maybe, it'd be, good for him to go somewhere else, right? Well, obviously they fired Gase. All of the turnover happened. I would have kept Danny Amendola and let him go. Because at that point, Amendola was, certainly the better leader, far more proven production, and, more durable, blah, blah, blah. More reliable. So, it is what it is. And then they kept him. They signed him to a 2-year deal. Obviously, he has had a bit of a resurgence in his career. It took him this long, but of course, that's mostly because of his injuries, which the credit goes to the Gase regime for helping him to get out of that and develop the proper, habits and so on and so forth, along with, guys like Cameron Wake to help mentor him, guys that, the Gase regime brought in like Frank Gore and Danny Amendola, guys like that helped him along the way, and so, he's had a bit, he's definitely had the best year of his career. He still hasn't yet, but he is on pace to break 1,000. It depends on, if he's going to be able to play. I mean, we still have to wait to see whether or not he gets out of the concussion protocol in time to play this week. He did shed his red non-contact jersey in practice, so that is a step forward. But we'll see if he actually gets to make it. And obviously he's, signing deals and stuff right now. So we'll see. Obviously his health is the most important thing, but we'll see if he makes it, and we'll see if he can break that 1,000 yards. Obviously that would be great. If you look at his career up to this point, this contract, I would say, just going off of his career up to this point, right? I would say this contract is probably a little bit steep. It's a 4-year deal, $40 million. I mean, he's not getting paid as the top receiver in the league, but he is getting 4 years, $40 million, with over half of it, 21 and a half of it, in guarantees, including an $8 million signing bonus. So, and he does have, more touchdowns than any other point in his career. He does have more yardage than any other point in his career, but he has yet to actually hit 1,000 yards. Hopefully he can, but he still hasn't at this point. And I think he's still a couple receptions shy of his, season high in receptions. I mean, that's whatever, right? But, we'll see how it goes. And the other part of it is that giving him, that much in, guarantees, that means the vast majority of his contract, over half of his contract, is front loaded. So, I mean, it's just like the Xavier Howard contract. If they ended up wanting to trade him, they could easily do so, and it would be very friendly to other teams, because over half of that $40 million that he's going to be owed is, and look, I mean, down the road, I mean, if he gets injured again, he does have a pretty, lengthy injury history, then it could, so we'll have to see how it plays out. Obviously, I like it from the standpoint that, I do like DeVante Parker. Again, he was, my choice in the 2015 draft. Obviously, I have his jersey. I'm wearing it right now. And he has had a bit of a resurgent season. And I'm hoping, that this front office and coaching staff can prove me wrong. Although I still don't believe it up to this point. They still have a lot more to go before they convince me. But, I think that keeping Parker around, having him with, Preston Williams could be a good duo. We'll see. I mean, he'll be like almost 30 by then, by the end of the contract. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, and, we'll see. I mean, are we even going to be competitive for, it to matter for him and for this? So, I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, but I do overall like the signing. There are some definite question marks there and some concerns, I mean, if he gets injured again, and I mean, because so far every season he's been injured. This is the first one where he hasn't really been injured, even though he's injured now, although you can't really hold a concussion against him. Or, I mean, you can't really hold any of his injuries against him, frankly, but although to some degree you can, because his previous injuries were mostly because he wasn't taking care of his body correctly, and he was sustained. Like, you can't blame the broken finger on him. That was just kind of a a one-off, like, random thing. But a lot of the soft tissue injuries, calf injuries and stuff like that, hamstring injuries that he was dealing with, that's on him for not taking care of himself correctly. But then again, as I mentioned, the credit goes to Gase and his regime for getting him on that path. So again, overall, I like it. I like DeVante Parker. We just need to see the consistency. Can he stay healthy, right? So this contract could be worth it, right, if a couple things happen. He has to stay healthy. He has to continue to produce at the level that he has been producing this year. Most notably in the previous game that he played, he's got to show that real level of consistent domination, right, that he showed in that one game. That was the one game that he actually truly showed that dominant level that we know his potential can be. So he's got to show that consistently. And then, the other thing is are we able to build this team correctly and actually make this team, like, legit competitive before, his time runs out here, right? And then also the other aspect of the fact that they completely front-loaded this deal. So, I mean, he's going to get that $21.5 million, that $8 million, quick and up front, right? And so, especially with each year that ticks off. And so, but they could also trade him. And, I mean, I don't think it's likely that they're going to do that. I think that's probably pretty unlikely, but there is always that possibility, right? So, we'll see. Yeah, so that's about it. Just wanted to make sure to get that breaking news out to you guys. DeVante Parker has now signed a new contract. And look, if he can stay healthy and continue to play at the level he is, then you can say that we have two players, him and Xavier Howard, who are legit, like, cornerstones of this team. Everybody else, I mean, there's some good things, like I like McMillan and Baker, but, they still have a lot of improvement to make, and, the vast majority of players on this team are below average, right? We only really have, like, Jerome Baker and McMillan. Those guys, Patrick Laird, are guys that are, like, average, maybe a little bit above average. But that's it. So, we've got, like, potentially two guys who are, superstars, cornerstones of this team, and then, maybe a handful of guys that are, like, average. And so they still have a long way to go. And, certainly one of my fears is that, like DeVante Parker and Xavier Howard, the prime years of their careers are going to be wasted in this mess. So we'll see how that plays out. Also, real quick, per source, Barry Jackson tweeted this out. The Dolphins claimed defensive back Tay Haynes off of waivers from Jags and put Gerald Willis on IR, So Gerald Willis now goes to IR, so add that to the list of players on injured reserve. And we now have another newcomer, Tay Haynes. So, yeah, there's that. So again, continued flux within this organization. And look, I mean, there's going to be tons of roster turnover next year. We're still going to be a super young and inexperienced team next year. So, and then if they have another draft that's underwhelming, well, we'll see. Like I said, guys, as much as look, first of all, I don't care about the haters. You guys can talk whatever shit you want. I don't get triggered by y'all. Y'all get triggered by me. That's how it goes if you've been to my channel. But at the end of the day, as much as I dislike Stephen Ross and had, lost a ton of respect from Flores because of how he handled the Kenny Stills thing, and think that, he's a sellout for adopting this whole philosophy and is certainly implicated in how this team was built and, a lot of the terrible decisions on the field. I think it's going to all backfire, but they can prove me wrong. So far, they've proven me pretty correct, but they still have a chance. We'll see how it goes. Obviously, we got a couple more games left. We need to figure out where we're going to be drafting. And then, I want to win this game against the Giants and then the next game against the Bengals. I think it's a pretty guaranteed thing that we're going to lose against the Patriots in Foxborough. So I expect 11 losses for sure. But I'm hoping we can squeeze out those 2 wins and get to 5-11 because I want wins. But that could drop us potentially. I don't think it would drop us out of the top 10. My guess would be probably pick 8, maybe 9. But it would, certainly towards the back end of the top 10 if we were to win those 2 games. And then obviously the Texans and Steelers look like they're going to, maintain pace to at least make it into the playoffs one way or the other, whether, it be the Texans winning their division, maybe the Titans overcome them for the division. I don't think that's likely, but either way, I'm pretty sure they'll both make it to the playoffs. And there have been reports lately about how, there have been sporadically reports on, the Dolphins, and I've talked about this, they could trade away a bunch of their draft capital to move up and go get a quarterback. And I think that that's definitely possible, especially if we drop out of the top 5 and then have 2, early 20s picks. I could definitely see that being a thing. But that would be a terrible, terrible decision. And it would certainly backfire on them, pretty hard from my perspective and analysis. Anyway, that's all I got for you with this breaking news video. I hope you guys enjoy my videos and my perspective. If you do, make sure you hit the subscribe button, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you hit the bell if you want to get the alerts. Make sure you share my channel and my videos with your friends and family. Make sure you leave your questions, comments, and concerns down in the comment section. And of course, as always, follow me on Twitter at Dillon Tartaro. And with that, I am out. I'll see y'all soon. Phins up.